This
HRA
conference will
EDA's
now be
Lunch and
recorded.
Learn. Stephanie has hit the record button just so everybody knows that we are recording this event, not for nefarious purposes or anything like that. We just want to have these recorded. We put them on our website, which is renville.com. Every month we have a different speaker on a different topic. So feel free to hop online. You can watch our previous Lunch and Learn events on a topic you're interested in. And or reach out to the speaker if you've got questions, want to talk a little bit more in detail. Most of these folks very easy to help and are eager to help you and help your local Renville County business. So please check that out. So again, Renville County HRA EDA Lunch and Learn. We do this every month. Since COVID, we've pretty much taken this thing 100% online. That's actually worked out fairly well for us just because of the distances. We had been moving it around. One month we're in Sacred Heart, next month we're in Danube, the next month we're in Franklin, etc. But if you're coming from a distance, that makes pretty much a half a day event. So we find more folks are liking doing these online. So that's kind of the backstory on this. So without any further ado, maybe we'll get the ball rolling. And I will mention too, if anybody's got any questions, I see a few folks have found the chat box. Feel free to put any questions in there. Both Stephanie and I will be monitoring that. Or if the speaker is so willing, if you want to ask a question as the topic comes up, if that works for you, Nancy, we'll just, yep, she's nodding her head. So we'll just kind of figure on that. Either way, works just fine for us. So with that, everybody knows that the labor markets, to say it's tight would be probably an understatement. So we invited Nancy to chat with us today. Nancy's owned Vinna Human Resources since 2018 and has worked in the field for about 15 years. She's a rural Minnesota person. She gets it, understands our local economy, which is absolutely awesome. She successfully worked with small businesses, financial institutions. I think that's a fancy name for banks and credit unions, retailers, educators, contractors, landscapers, churches, nonprofit, correction facilities, and government. So she's got a pretty diverse background with a variety of different industries. So Nancy has a bachelor's degree in business and communication and a master's in human resource management, has certifications for the Society of Human Resource Management, SHRM, which is kind of the gold standard, if you're familiar with that, and the Human Resources Certification Institute. She does quite a bit of volunteer work as well, and likes spending time with family. So with that, I'll turn things over to Nancy Miller. And everybody watching, if you don't mind turning on the camera for a minute or two, I'm sure Nancy would love to see your smiling face. I'd love to as well. And with that, we'll let Nancy chat with us. So thank you, ma'am.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. That was an awesome presentation, Jordan. I am so glad to be here, glad to be a part of this. Just a little bit of my story. I was actually in banking for about 30 years and decided to change directions. Went and got my master's in human resources. Was working for a facility that had their payroll being done by Amundsen Thompson. Their payroll person said, hey, we need somebody like you here. So I came and visited with David Amundsen, and he said, well, what do you think about starting a business? And I said, I'm in, let's do this. So they've been consulting HR in the cities probably for 20 years now, and it's just really something new out here in West Central Minnesota. We're growing the business and loving it. So today I'm going to share with you a little bit about how to be a little bit more intentional with your new employees, give you some tools that's going to be helpful for you, and I would be happy to answer any questions that you may have. I'm going to have somebody let me know if there's a question that comes up that we can answer right away. Otherwise, we should have time at the end. So thanks everyone for being here. Let's get started. All right. So intentional onboarding and how that can equal employee retention. Like Jordan had said, the market's kind of tight right now. We need to, as employers, do everything we can to retain the talent that we have. But I also think that we really need to focus on that new talent People are going to start coming back to work when they realize that, maybe pastures weren't greener elsewhere, or maybe, you know what, you are that greener pasture and they're going to come and work for you. So keep looking, keep your heads up, keep looking for those new people, and be ready with some intentional onboarding for them. So how does onboarding equal retention? There's a lot of information out there. I'm waiting for all the news reports to say, it's not the great resignation anymore. People are ready to come back to work. So my intention with this webinar is to help you be prepared for that. So new employee onboarding is the process of integrating a new employee with a company and its culture. You may not know what your culture is or identify that culture, but every company definitely has a culture. So you want to get that new employee on board with your culture. And it's as well as getting a new hire the tools and information needed to become a productive member of the team. So moving them from the green employee, brand new, to being productive. That's kind of the intention here. So onboarding helps new hires adjust to the social and performance aspects of their job so they can quickly become productive, contributing members of the organization. So how can you be intentional with onboarding? It's going to take communication. If you've ever done strength finders and communication isn't part of it, you're going to really need to focus, or it isn't in your top 5 strengths, you're really going to need to focus on communication. So many times I hear people say, well, they should know that, or I assume that they know that, or I didn't say anything, so they should be able to read my mind. Well, this is going a little bit above that and being prepared. So start with a job description. I know, job descriptions, yikes. How am I going to do that? Well, a really good job description has all of the big picture parts of a job. And by the way, it may also be your best tool for defense if you find yourself in court because of an employment issue. A great job description is a living document and changes as the position changes. Employees need to sign their job description acknowledging that they received a copy. So why be intentional, or how can I be intentional with onboarding? So how would your onboarding program look? When would you start onboarding? How long will it last? And this is my favorite question. Think about what impression you want to have new hires to walk away with at the end of the first day. Are they excited about being there? Do they have all the resources they need to be a good part of the team? What role will HR play in the process? And what about supervisors and coworkers? As you've got this new hire coming through your door, what are these other people? What's their role going to look like? What kind of goals do you want to set for this new employee? And then how will you gather feedback on the program and measure its success? And then also remote employees. How do you onboard remote employees? And that's a whole nother presentation, by the way, but it's something to think about. So if you don't plan for onboarding that new employee before that new employee starts, another employer will. And the word gets out, you want to treat applicants, candidates, employees the way that you want to be treated. With this tight market, as far as having employees, you might get an application, and in the past, you might have let that application just sit on your desk for a while and not even reach out. I would recommend reaching out immediately to all applicants that want to work at your business. So we're going to start after you select a candidate and they've accepted the job offer. That's kind of where we're coming into this. You just can't start communicating fast enough. You need to set up times with them where you're going to touch base. How is it that they best communicate? Are you going to email them? Do they like texting? Do they want phone messages? You're going to need to let them know who they should meet when they walk in the door, where to park, what door to enter in, where to hang their coat or where to put personal items. You know, is there a refrigerator they can put their lunch in? These are all things you need to think about as you're preparing your onboarding program. Again, text or email the chosen candidate. How are you going to do that? Ask them, you know, how is it best? You know, what information can you give them ahead of time before they even walk in the door? Health insurance information would be a great thing to have. If any benefit information that they can get them excited about coming to work for you. So again, after you select your candidate, some other ideas, you know, reach out to them and ask them, you know, be sure that they know they need to bring their IDs for their I-9 form. Be sure they need to know their direct deposit information. You know, nowadays people don't have checkbooks. People don't carry around that. They might need to get that from their bank. And you can prompt them a little bit, encourage them a little bit, and say, you know, I need this information so you can get paid. They tend to respond pretty quickly then if you have that, if you explain why you need it. There might be some other new paperwork too that they can get done before their first day. Ask them how it's best to get it to them. Let them know if this position has benefits. You know, can I text you a link if you do any electronic onboarding, or they can look at your internet or your website. Get them that information as soon as possible. Ask them about something personal. You know, don't forget to make this a personal thing. You know, maybe they shared something in their interview where they grew up, or just something personal about them. You know, show a sincere interest in them, and absolutely make them feel welcome. Welcome them before they start. So what you're going to want to do before their first day is be prepared. So have their workspace ready. You know, perhaps you need to order a nameplate or business cards ahead of time. Add them to the phone list. Have their training plan prepared. That way when they walk in, they know you are ready for them and you're welcoming them. Employees need to have crystal clear ideas about their job duties and responsibilities. We talked about a little bit about job description. We're going to go into that a little bit more. But day one is about setting those expectations and introducing objectives to your new employee. This is a suggestion that anybody can use, anybody should use, is to have a mentor or a contact person, kind of a go-to person that this new employee can connect with. This person can be a trainer, supervisor, or just a coworker, something that works next to them. The contact person definitely needs to be welcoming as well, and you're going to want to pick someone that's an advocate for the company. They need to be friendly, friendly face, and able to answer questions. So we're going to get into an onboarding checklist and creating an onboarding packet, things that are going to help you when you do create your onboarding program. So employees who know what to expect from their company's culture and work environment make better decisions that are more aligned with the accepted practices of the company. So you want to set them up for success. We're going to talk a little bit more about that mentor or that contact or go-to person, whatever you want to call that. You want to plan a deliberate introduction for that mentor and set up those expectations. It's probably good to do that on their first day. Perhaps they could plan to go to lunch together. You know, give them a chance to connect, and to share information. You know, the bits and pieces that you may forget when you're doing like orientation or your onboarding. Remember, this person needs to be welcoming needs to be a positive advocate for the company. If you don't assign someone, you're going to get those people that are probably your least productive people, or people that you might consider poison. They're going to connect with that new employee, and you don't want that. You want to assign somebody that they can go to, that they can get their questions answered, that they can connect with. So we're going to talk about an onboarding checklist that you can have all your new hire forms that you need when people start, your W-4s, your I-9, Minnesota wage theft law, the employee notice, all that thing. And this list can be tailored to meet your needs. We're going to go into that a little bit more here. The list is intended to save you time. Once you create this list, if you keep it electronically, you can have it there, you can make changes to it. When it's time for a new employee to start, you can just hit print, and you've got everything you need. And then it's going to go right into your personnel file. So why a checklist and packet? This gives the employees a consistent first day experience. It definitely helps you stay organized. It's going to create efficiency for you, like nobody's business. You're going to go, wow, that didn't take long. You can move on to something else, and it allows you to focus on that new employee, and it really makes you look good, especially if you know how to fill out that W-4. They aren't always easy. So what does an onboarding checklist look like? It is going to contain your W-4s. So Minnesota has their own. If you're in multiple states, you're gonna wanna see if the other states have their own W-4 as well. Your federal W-4, your I-9, which is the one that goes with your identifications from the Department of Homeland Security. Your direct deposit form, which we talked about. It's always good to remind them that they need to bring that information in ahead of time. Emergency contact form. If your business were to be hit by a tornado or something, are they going to be able to contact the people that they need to, knowing that they were at work, or have your HR do that? I had an employee once that came down with COVID, and we didn't hear from them for a couple days, and they weren't responding. So yeah, I had to pull out the emergency contact form and make sure that they were okay. Employee notice. If you're not familiar with the Minnesota wage theft law, this is a form that's required by the Minnesota Department of Labor. And we're going to go into that a little bit more in just a minute. You want a list of policies that you share with your employee. This can be like a table of contents from your handbook. That needs to be attached to the employee notice and put into their file. You're going to want benefit information on your checklist, so you can refer to it quickly. Maybe a benefit statement that you can hand to employees that gives them a quick synopsis of their vacation or their sick or retirement insurance benefits, those kinds of things. If you need a background check, if you need a drug test, employee handbook, signed acknowledgement. Did you get all these things from the employee, or did you give them to them, whichever applies. Confidentiality agreement, non-compete. Another agreement that we don't have listed on here is maybe a proprietary agreement that they need to sign, saying that they agree to keep things private. Remote work policy and forms. If this person's going to be working remotely at all, you want to have your policy ready to go over that with the new employee. COVID-19 policy and procedures. Maybe you require masks, maybe you mandate vaccines, whatever that may be. The employees need to know that right away. If there's any special security information, that they need, especially with computers, things like that, and to have their email and telephone access set up. That's huge. Give that to them right away so you have that information. All right, we're going to talk a little bit more about some of these tools. I'm going to kind of go into the job description a little bit more about the employee handbook and the Minnesota wage theft law. You know, these are definitely pieces that you're going to want to be prepared with prior to a new employee starting. First of all, we talked a little bit about job descriptions already. Again, a job description is the best way to communicate company culture. It's a great way to set your expectations and duties of the position. A good job description will assist you in recruitment and performance reviews. I was talking to a client the other day that says that they have people that come in and they start their first day and then they leave. And I'm like, well, do you have a job description for them? And they're like, well, no. And I said, that might be helpful. Obviously, this wasn't the job for this person, and it's going to save everybody some time and money and effort if they knew what to expect on that job. So great job description used properly will be your best tool if you find yourself an employment issue as well. So contents of a good job description. Yeah, all these things should be in your job description. We did highlight or put an asterisk in front of the ones that are very important. But obviously company name and address, the date that the job description was put together, position title, hours and days that this position's going to be working, benefits, job classification, you know, are they exempt, non-exempt, salary grade level, that one's kind of optional. That really doesn't have to be in there. Some employers don't want to put that in there. But in the case where this employer has people walking off on the first day, I really highly recommend having the salary in there, maybe a salary range, so employees know what to expect if they are hired there. Who does this person report to? Who are they supervised by? Who they might, you know, help out if people need help, or the purpose of the position. So highlighted, definitely need to include essential functions in this job description, competencies, mental demands, physical demands, work environment, is there travel required, your required education or preferred education and experience, definitely anything additional that you might require. You want to have an equal opportunity statement in there and a place for the employee to acknowledge, like a signature line or a statement saying they acknowledge that they received a copy of it. So. All right. So next we're going to talk a little bit about a handbook. Your employee handbook really should also be a living document as well. It needs to change as your company changes. It needs to change as laws change. Here in Minnesota, federal Minnesota laws typically will change on January 1st or July 1st. So if there's going to be a change in that, you want to have that. For example, January 1st, the laws changed in regard to nursing mothers and also pregnancy accommodations. And plus the Minnesota wage or minimum wage changed in Minnesota just recently on January 1st. If you have any locations in Minneapolis, their minimum wage is going to be changing on July 1st. So just kind of a heads up on that. So your handbooks need to be current. Please don't use somebody else's handbook. I've been at clients, they say, yeah, here we have this handbook. I got it from my cousin's work. You know, they weren't using it anymore, or it's an extra copy or whatever. That's all fine and good, but if it doesn't apply to you, it's going to get you in probably more trouble than it is if you invest money in your own handbook. It's just definitely going to save you time for misunderstanding, miscommunication, or misrepresentation. So the third piece that I really wanted to kind of go into, expand on a little bit more, is the Minnesota wage theft law. This law started in July of 2019. It's really a result of employers and employees not communicating. Employees for many, many years had been bringing situations to the Department of Labor where they considered that their employer had stolen their wages from them. And, you know, some promised them things that they didn't fulfill, and some were innocent too. It was just a misunderstanding. But the Minnesota Department of Labor brought that to the legislature, and the legislators moved on it. However, every legislator I talked to says that they never intended this law to be so much work for employers. It really can be cumbersome until you have a process in place, you have the forms in place. You can make it easy, you can make it part of your onboarding, part of your annual performance evaluation. You can make it easy to do each year. But yeah, it can take some time, can be cumbersome to get it started. I think the really good thing about this law is that this is information employees should already know. If employees know this information, they are less likely to leave. So more on the Minnesota wage theft law. The employee notice is a form that you can get from the Minnesota Department of Labor. You can use your own form. You don't have to use theirs, but it does need to contain, let's say you put it in the form of a welcome letter or an offer letter. You still need to contain all of the information that is included in the law. So the employee's information, you know, address, phone number, those kinds of things, email address, employer's information. So if you have multiple locations, you need to have the location on there where the employee can call if they need help or if they have any questions regarding their pay. The employee's classification and pay, you know, if they're hourly, if they're salary, if they're commission, how often, you know, how that's structured, benefits and how to use them. So do they accrue PTO? Do they get sick leave? Do they get retirement? Is there 401k? You know, health insurance, dental insurance, all those kinds of things. And we've wordsmithed some of these to help reduce the change. For example, you can list on there. Oh, we'll get into that. And I'm a little ahead of myself. Sorry. We'll get into that in the deductions. So you have to have the pay information on there as well. You know, what is the pay period? What is the date that they can get paid? They'll ask for the specifically first date that they can plan on getting their paycheck. And then what deductions will come out of their paycheck. So the deductions, like I started talking about a little bit ago, benefits, for example, you know, they're going to change annually, you know, maybe the cost. So one thing that you can put on this notice in regards to benefits is you can just put a statement like benefits as enrolled in, or taxes as required by law. So you don't have to list percentages if they change, or you know, maybe somebody goes exempt from taxes, things like that. But yeah, we've wordsmithed a couple of different things to help ease the repetitiveness of the form. So the form needs to be signed by the employee and the employer. The employee signs saying they got a copy, and then there's also a copy kept in the employee's file. So you don't want to forget to do that. So if anything on the Minnesota or the employee notice changes, you need to notify that employee in writing. So let's say they get a wage increase. You know, you need to give that to them in writing, and a copy of that needs to be kept in the employee's file. And oh, by the way, this law applies to top down. It applies to everybody in the business. It's not just, you know, the employees. It's the C-suite. It's the CEO. It's everybody is supposed to have this documentation. So the law also requires a dated list of policies and procedures, and that needs to be kept in the employee's file as well. And that's where that table of contents would come in for your handbook. So if you give them a handbook dated 1/1 of 2022, then your list, your table of contents should reflect that same date. All right. So you got your new employee starting, you got your onboarding all ready to go, your onboarding packet. You might go through an orientation, which is just a one-time event. Your orientation is going to be where you do your new hire paperwork. You can focus on getting the new employee ready for training. Like I said, the forms can be pre-filled as much as possible. For example, the W-4 forms require that the businesses have their tax ID numbers at the bottom, you know, where they work. There's other things that you can do to make this a little bit easier. The employee notice that I talked about for the Minnesota wage theft law, you can have a lot of that filled out, and then just curtail it for that employee. So let the employee know what they can expect their first day and the days following. Give them a big picture of the company, share the mission, values, you know, policies, anything else. If there's specific training that needs to be done on the first day, and again, introduce them to their mentor. So on day 2, you know, check in with the new employee, be sure to say hi, see if there's any questions that they have, you know, connect with them on a personal level. Follow up with the contact person and see how it's going. You know, have they reached out to you? Did you guys get a chance to go to lunch? Did you have a chance to talk about, you know, company culture? You know, company culture can even include the dress code. You know what? Yeah, it's okay to wear jeans and tennis shoes here, or we need to wear, you know, steel-toed shoes, have protective eyewear. Yeah, the company's great. They provide these things, or however that may be, whatever's required in your facility. Again, if you aren't communicating, you know, with what new hires are supposed to be doing and arming them with the tools to do it properly, you're just going to be setting them up for failure. Be prepared if you're going to bring on new employees. 30 days, again, part of the onboarding, you know, check in with that employee, check in with that contact person, do it weekly if you can. Set goals, transition from training to production. You know, how are they moving through this? Is it getting done? You know, kind of get a pulse on how things are going. You know, maybe there's some area that they're struggling with, that they need a little bit more help with, or a little bit more time with. This is a really good time to get to know, for them to get to know team members and make those connections. So about 90 days in, ask, you know, some more specific questions. You know, make those questions based on your mission and goals. If there's a formal review process, you know, take a couple questions from that form and talk about it. Maybe they need to do, say, I don't know, billable hours. You know, how are your billable hours doing? Do you understand the process? Do you know when to track those and when not to track those? You can ask open-ended questions about their successes and challenges in their first 90 days. You can fine-tune goals and expectations. Be ready to identify areas that they need assistance to continue to learn and grow and get resources and tools they need to do their job. The 6-month period, I suggest scheduling time to sit down with the employee, show them your evaluation form, your performance evaluation form that you go through. Maybe you can talk through it, fill it out together, how it would apply to them at this particular time. This is going to give you an opportunity to discuss those areas of improvement and possibly give them some resources that they can use to grow in their job and become that productive member of the team. It also gives them specific things of what's expected of them. So in conclusion, be intentional with your onboarding. At the end of the onboarding process, new employees should have all the tools, resources, and connections that they need to be a successful, productive employee. Make sure you welcome employees, empower them with information, and they are likely to stay. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you very much. The locations that I have listed at the bottom are the Amphots and Thompson locations. We do work closely with them because they do payroll. I don't do payroll. They do the payroll piece, and they need information from HR to do payroll. So works out well.
Any questions? I guess I've got one if I can start off. First question is, what's kind of the low-hanging fruit? If you small organization, small business, if you were gonna, onboard somebody, what's the first couple things you would do knowing, you probably can't do everything 100%,
Sure. Good question. I'd get that checklist together and get the basics of what you need to do to get their payroll done. What you need to have in their file. Definitely you need to put the, you're gonna need your W-4s, your I-9, direct deposit. You're gonna have to have that Minnesota wage theft law piece in there as well. That would be the place to start.
Other questions? Other questions? Maybe I don't want to hog the whole thing, but one other question I had, when it comes to retention, I'm sure you hear good and you hear bad and everything in between. What are a few of the things that you're hearing is working the best at retaining people? Is it VIP parking spots? Is it, free lunch on Fridays? What are you hearing that other people are having success with, if you don't mind sharing?
It's really, yeah, you don't hear so much about the successes, but I do know a couple of organizations that I work with that have good, solid retention, and it's that communication piece. It's having the employees a place to be heard. It's listening to them. It's acknowledging them. It's respect. It's having that respect. It's not always about the money. It's not always about the parking places. Those people are going to come and go, just like interest rates on a CD. Being in banking for many years, as soon as that interest rate came up, people kept flocking back, and as soon as they left, the interest rate went down, they left again. It's going to be that good, solid respect and foundation in your company that people are going to stay.
Kind of playing off that, you hear a lot about signing bonuses, sign on for $2,500 or $3,000 or $5,000. I'm assuming that's the same way. As soon as they get their full payout, they're probably on to greener pastures, or what are you seeing and hearing on that?
So I don't think we've been around it. We haven't seen it long enough to know what that result is going to be, because that is relatively new. A lot of those large sign-on bonuses required, 6, 12, 18 months of employment. So I don't think we're at the point where it's going to be easy come, easy go yet. But yeah, the next employer that's going to have a better offer, they're going to be leaving and moving on. So I'm not saying don't do it. If you need those bodies and you need those people there, set your sign-on bonus for what is going to reflect your needs as a company.
Gotcha. We had one question that just popped up in the chat box. Do you have any suggestions for onboarding an employee remotely?
Oh, yeah. So like I said, that's another presentation. But yeah, you still need to communicate with those people. You need to give them all the same tools and things that you would another employee. So you need to have access to the good connection, good internet. They need to have that. You actually have to also allow a remote employee access to a labor law poster. So you need to provide, if you have labor law posters hanging in your facilities, you need to provide that to those that work remotely too, so they can access a labor law poster. But as far as onboarding, the key is communication. I keep them involved, check in with them regularly, walk them through the same process you would as if they were just standing right next to you. Give them a mentor, give them somebody to connect to.
Awesome. Other questions? I don't want to be taking all of Nancy's time here. We had one question. Somebody messaged me. Is it possible for us to post this PowerPoint on our website for those that want to see it and share it with some of their management team and some of that stuff? Would that be okay, Nancy?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Not
awesome.
A problem. Yeah.
And Nancy's contact info is on there as well, her phone number.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you're available. Somebody's got a quick question and give you a call or zip you an email and maybe downloads.
Yeah, absolutely. The first time somebody wants to sit down and talk about HR, I'd be happy to. If they want to sit down and talk about their business, as a business, we really focus on 3 different areas as far as employees go. We focus on compliance. That's absolutely our most popular and most important thing that we focus on. We focus on benefit management. Working with benefits, that's a huge expense for employers. We want to make sure that they get the good, the right benefits to attract the right employees. And then we also will focus on employee management as well. And that's going to be your performance evaluations, maybe walking through your discipline with somebody, your processes. We'll work with terminations if they need help with that. And we even go so far as if you want us to be available for your employees in certain situations, we can do that as well. But typically we just work with the business owners. We love to work with employers, say 10 employees to 40, 45, somewhere in there. We find that we can be most resourceful for that type. Usually when you get up into the bigger employers, they're going to hire HR. And if they do, that's fine too. We can be a resource for HR HR people. Maybe you hire a new HR person that doesn't have all the skill set and they just need some backup or some support. We can be there for them for that too. So
awesome. Last call for, we see something. When an employee is given a raise, does the employer need to give, closed here, hang on, I'm trying to find it again. Does the employer need to give the employee a new employee notice?
No, you do not need to do a whole new notice. You just need to, we put together what we call a status change form. It can just have their name and the new rate and the date. And it doesn't have to be a whole new notice. What we do with our clients is we fill out this form when they're going to give a raise, and then we can forward that on to payroll, or they can forward that form on to payroll, and they've got what they need to make that raise and what date it's effective. So, and then it just goes in their file.
Last call for questions, friends. Going once. Going twice. Going thrice. There we go. Well, thank you, everybody. We appreciate everybody joining us. We appreciate Nancy and her time and her expertise. Again, her contact info is on the screen. We will be posting this on our website, renville.com, probably later this week, early next, as well as the PowerPoint presentation from today, so folks can take that to their management teams and take a peek at that. Feel free to reach out to her. And thank you all so much for your attention, and thanks for all you do for Renville County. Have a great day, and we'll see you next month at our Renville County Lunch and Learn. Bye, everybody.